Good day, Physics 30 students. Today we're going to talk in this video about the diploma exam for June of 2022, hoping to get more familiarized and feel ready for what's to come. Now with the exam for June of 2022, there is a shift in the worth from previous years. It is a 90-10 weighting, which means for this current school year, 90% of your worth for your overall grade comes from your school awarded marks. So I'll have you consider the bottom left corner here where we've got a school awarded mark of say 80% at a weighting of previously 70%, 56% of your overall mark would come from the school awarded portion. Alternatively, in our current weighting at an 80% mark with a weighting of 90% means 72% of a student's overall mark is coming from the school awarded portion. So you can see how important that 70% versus 90% weighting kind of contributes to your overall final mark. And similarly for the diploma, how does a 30 and a 10% weighting kind of contribute towards that overall mark? Regarding time, you do have up to 6 hours to complete your diploma exam. It's not designed to be completed in 6, it's designed to be completed in 3, but you have up to 6 hours. As well, you do have to stay a minimum of 1 hour in the exam. If you finish the exam for some reason in 45 minutes, you still have to stay for a minimum of 1 hour. So if a student does show up 5 minutes late to an exam for some reason, they can still enter into a secure environment where answers haven't left. Question format. Now, there are going to be 36 multiple choice questions and 14 numerical response questions for a total of 50 questions. So 50 marks, 50 questions, and with that, we can kind of allocate, 2% per question as you're thinking about what each question is worth is 2%. Now, the best we can say for a bit of a topic breakdown for those 50 marks is that for the momentum and impulse unit or topic, we're going to be looking at a 10 to 20% weighting of the diploma exam. So you're anticipating about 5 to 10 questions coming from momentum and impulse. Similarly, for forces and fields and electromagnetic radiation, you're looking at about a 25 to 35% weighting. So somewhere between 13 and 18 questions will come from those two units each. And lastly, for atomic physics, you're looking at 20 to 30% weighting, again about 10 to 15 questions or marks coming from atomic physics. So as we're considering where the focus of the exam is going to be, this is the best we can really say. As we look at being prepared for this style of questions, there are only two sections, multiple choice and numerical. There is no written portion on the science exams. But with the multiple choice questions, wanting to feel like it's something we've been used to, feeling comfortable with the style of questionings, there's two types of multiple choice items. You can either have a discrete or a context-dependent question. A discrete question simply has a question or a stem with responses. Now, a context-dependent question is kind of like this one that we see to the right, where you have a context box or an information box where there's some information that's needed prior to the question actually being asked. So for this question, it says use the information to answer question 2, and it's talking about a rod being negatively charged. And then later on in this italicized portion below, it says number 2, the sphere has been charged by the process of, and the material that the sphere is made of is classified as. And so this one again is unique in saying the answer to the question isn't a number, it's the row numbers that correspond to the blanks. So sometimes we're having to look at more than one sort of mindset or bit of information to answer a question. There's a row with multiple pieces of information. So this is a context-dependent question, and there will be many of those, but not everyone will be. For the numerical response, there's 3 types, but they're all really sort of a similar mindset as we had previously seen. The first one is a calculation of numerical values. You may have to do a calculation and type in an answer 1.25. You may have to select items or functions or structures from a diagram or list. So you're selecting parts of a diagram to say this and this and this are the ways that would make this a complete lab. You can also have to sequence events. So you might have to say, what is the order of events that would make this true? So you can have different styles of questions, but again, they all are going to be looking at some sort of context. The interesting thing with numerical response questions in this italicized part below is that you can actually have multiple valid answers, and they might feel a little bit misleading, like you're doing something wrong, but there are multiple possible answers to some numerical response questions. Not all, but some. For a question like this, what you've got is, again, this context box talking about a ray of light traveling from water into an unknown medium. And it says you will need to make measurements using a ruler or protractor. So you do get to bring a ruler or protractor to your diploma if you like. And in this question for numerical response, it's talking about the index of refraction of water, and the index of refraction of the second medium is blank. And you can see at the bottom here, the answer as scored by Alberta Ed is any value between 1.54 and 1.69. So if you're stressed occasionally about what the decimal point is, in this question they're accepting actually any value between 1.54 and 1.69. So there are occasions where there is multiple answers, especially even for an ordering or a lab setup or a context question. For this question, it's talking about lenses, and there is an optical apparatus set of possibilities. So there's different sources, lens, mirrors, and so on. And in this question, it's asking a bit about what apparatus should be placed at location X, location Y, and location Z to produce a focused real image in a dark room. And so the answers to this question are 194 or 094 or 491 or 490. And you can see there's multiple possible scenarios. So if during the exam you're feeling like, oh, there might be more than one answer, that is possible in some questions. Now regarding constants, there are going to be tearaway pages at the back of the booklet for your data sheet and your formula sheet, and some blank pages to write information on. And it is important that you should be using the constants on the data sheet. So don't use, the famous 3.14. And it's important to use these, especially for numerical response answers, to ensure you're getting those right values. And these are your data pages. Again, you're going to have a formula sheet and a front-back data sheet with your constants and all your formulas. So these will be tearaways at the back of the booklet with your answer sheet that you'll also tear out to record your answers on. Lastly, on the day of the exam, feel free to pause this. This is going to be your information at the front of the exam to kind of look at, and you can read these bits of information now if you like, so that you're aware of what's coming. But as we plan the day of the exam, what should you be bringing to the exam? Well, bring a pencil, HB pencil. I would say bring more than one HB pencil. Make sure it's sharpened and you're not having to find a sharpener the morning of the exam or during the exam. Bring a really good eraser. You're allowed to bring one approved graphing calculator, not two. One approved graphing calculator. It will get cleared before and after. Make sure you are, again, using degrees and making sure you're setting that properly. But bring into the exam everything that you need that's going to make sure you're not thinking about anything else. So if your pencil breaks during the test and you only have one, that's going to be a distraction and you're going to feel some stress that you don't need to feel. Make sure you're dressed comfortably. If it's June, you're not wearing a winter coat. You're not dressed so that you might be cold if it's an air-conditioned gym. But make sure you're comfortable and you're in a mindset that is appropriate for writing a up to 6-hour exam. What should you not bring to the exam? Don't bring any electronics, no earbuds, no smartwatches, nothing that may invalidate your exam. That has happened before. And so make sure you are bringing only approved, things into the exam. What should you do the morning of the exam? Again, this is a great opportunity in your school to just talk about some of those site-based expectations. But on the morning of the exam, again, make sure you're coming in well rested. It's better to come in with a clear brain and not, cramming until 5 a.m. and then your brain is foggy. Get a good rest. Eat a good breakfast so your stomach's not, growling after the third hour. Make sure you go to the washroom before the exam so that you're not 10 minutes in having to go to the washroom and you're thinking about going to the washroom. So make sure all that stuff that might become a distraction are considered and taken care of. How do you start preparing for your diploma exam? Well, one of the best things that you can do before you start practicing questions is try making a study guide. Revisit each unit, talk about all the previous concepts that may have been a little bit foggy or unclear before, and try to review those. It's a great idea to actually make some notes from each unit and say, these are the important questions we did. These are common mistakes that I made. And occasionally, if you're making a really concise and great set of study guide, that's often a bit better to study from as well as you're leading up to the exam than a thick binder or a whole set of pages. And once you kind of review and remember what's in the course, then it's important to start practicing questions. So there are great places to look at review items, past diploma exams. There's an archived information bulletin from previous information bulletins. There are performance standards. There are past diploma exemplars. There's guides for writing the diploma if you're feeling a little bit anxious about what to expect. If you go to or search Quest A+, Alberta Quest A+, there are a set of released items, different practice questions that you can examine, but there's lots of places that you can practice things. But after you do some reviewing, it's great to be looking at those practice questions. And lastly, once you get your results, which are often about 3 weeks after writing your exam, grades will be accessible on MyPass. MyPass is hopefully a place you've logged in before, and that's where you'll get your information and your results. You can, if the marks in any part of your year did not go well, you can retake a class without retaking a new diploma. And if you rewrite a class, your higher mark in that Physics 30 class will be awarded. You can also rewrite a diploma without taking a course, and the higher of the two will be awarded as your official mark. So you can rewrite either a course or a diploma, and the higher mark is awarded. One of the more unique things is to have something rescored, and usually this is more common in a Part A for ELA or social. But you can have, if you feel like there is something super strange that happened with a multiple choice numerical response machine score test, where maybe you filled in the bubbles incorrectly and everything is offset by 1, maybe there's something unique that happened, you can have a test rescored, and whatever happens on a rescore, ELA, social, or a math science, whatever happens on a rescore becomes your official mark, even if it's lower. So a rescore for a written Part A in English and social, the rescore becomes the mark. And if you attempt to rescore in something like physics, the rescore becomes the mark, if it were to change. But there are a few options at the end of the writing if the marks are not what you like, but a rescore or a rewrite are the two options. Good luck on your Physics 30 diploma exam, and have a great summer.